First of all, I'm not. What happened during the emergency rule was something that nobody is happy about, and some of us will kick against it. Then, secondly, if you look at the provision of the Constitution, you discover that the office holder belongs to the political party per virtue of some provisions of the Constitution and the interpretation of the Supreme Court. Then the other issue we should also look at is the process itself. Coming together, PDP governors, as at when the process was filed, surprisingly, my state governor, which is Delta State, has defected. So obviously, there might be an application to amend that process, or maybe the AG of the state may want to withdraw a participant in that process. When a colleague of mine, a comrade, sends me the originating process, so I've not seen the one for Rivers State, I've not seen the one of the National Assembly, I was a bit concerned based on my knowledge in the law, I was a bit concerned about some of the perceived foundational error in that process. One, I'll tell you, let me point it out quickly, so that at the tail end of it, if the court decides to go by what we know to be the provision of the law, so that the public will not crucify or sacrifice the court for doing what they ought to have done. One, you could see that the AG of Rivers State is not a party to that suit. And one thing we should know carefully is if the decision goes in affirmative of the PDP governors. Now, can Rivers State, who is not a party, or the legal team of Fubara, by virtue of the AG of Rivers State, can it be executed? That is one. Then two, if you look at the provision of the Constitution, Section 232, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, states it clear, for the Supreme Court to have original jurisdiction over a matter, it must be between the Federation and the state, or the state against the state, whether of law or fact. But bringing in the National Assembly has questioned whether the Supreme Court will have original jurisdiction. Because if you look at the interpretation provision of the Federation, has to do with the Federal Republic of Nigeria by virtue of Section 318 of the Constitution, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And what makes up the Federal Republic of Nigeria? It has to do with the three arms of the federal government, which the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. So any act that ought to be questioned, or let's just say the executive and the legislative. So any act that ought to be questioned of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is put in one through the office of the AG of the Federation. So these are some of the questions. So if issue of technicality comes in now, the Supreme Court, which I believe, with the little knowledge I know about law, may want question whether the court has jurisdiction over the matter. So to some extent, the National Assembly may be right challenging the process because they're already a party, and they might be of the view that being a party makes the Supreme Court lacks jurisdiction. Then two, for issue of the 1 billion, it is known law that cost comes after an event. So they might have paid their lawyer. So it's at the discretion of the court to award such amount or not. So that is just it.
Wow. Very, very, very insightful there.
Yes, thank you for giving us that legal background to the case. But looking at the social-political makeup of Nigeria, why is it important that the PDP governors have decided to file this lawsuit?
Well, it is important because when there is an abridgment of the law, there must be a redress. Do you understand? So as a matter of fact, I think it was even some of us were worried that it took them time to have even followed up the process or to have instituted the process. And if you look at it carefully, it is PDP governor, but PDP governor for us is not a juristic person or have the local standard. What I mean is that the local standard to question that is, so they come under the office of their Attorney General, which by implication, invoking the power of the states by virtue of Section 3 Section 232, subsection 1, to enable the Supreme Court address this particular issue. Remember, it's an issue of law. I think misinterpretation or misconception of 305 of the Constitution. So that is very instructive. But how far it could go, to the best of my knowledge, is another thing again. Politically, one is really not too good politically, because by the sole reason, some governors who are not in line, because Nigeria, when a current administration lay a foundation, the next administration will not only extend the foundation, but also roof it and also build a story on it. So you discover that the abridgment of this provision may be constantly done by previous administration. If precedents will be referred to, Tinubu administration did it, so I can do it. And first of all, we got it under the democratic rule. In the First Republic, then Obasanjo brought it in his own way, which was questioned and fought to the latter in Plateau State. Then Jonathan, who understands and who has the legal officers that guided him well, extended it and interpreted that particular provision when he declared state of emergency in the states that were affected by Boko Haram. That is the reason for that provision. Then to bringing it in now. And if you also look at the statement the statement of the FCT minister is really worrisome, because I think at this point in time, everywhere many Democrats and everywhere many politicians who can foresee the future ought to be sober and see way rather than the recon of a consistent train of tantrums and abuses and playing the Lord of the Ring.
All right, and also I want you to talk about what the legal implication, or beyond the political implication of all that has hit the PDP, what it means next for the party, as what will, the party is what we consider, currently they should have been considered as the biggest opposition that we have, but with all the defections, the suspension of the governor in Rivers State, the defections in Delta State, what are the implications of these on the structure of the People's Democratic Party, nationally?
Well, sometimes when I see a defection, I will ask people, what makes up the APC? What makes up the APC? APC is a combination of the People's Democratic Party, the CPC as at then, and the AC, the Action Congress, which is led by the Tinubu administration. So you could see that is a combination of triangular interests. And you could see that maybe at the point of it, because APC should be very careful in the defection that they're having. It's too early for we to predict what will happen, because as time goes on, 24 hours is too long. For 24 hours is a long day in the life of a political circle. So you should look at it first. When the formation of APC came into being, you discover that there is a sharing interest. So this is where the problem will now come. Now the CPC block of the APC, which was Buhari, has become the president of Nigeria. Now, the AC block of the APC is now. So you could say one of the recall in the PDP is the fact that the PDP block now may want to produce the successor of president. And this is where the problem. Before 2027, you will see that there might be infighting in the APC. I'll give an example in Delta State, where I came from. If you look at the political structure of Delta State under the leadership of Ibori, under the leadership of Ibori, you discover that there's what we call rotational. And if that rotation is bridge based on the government who not among the Ibori then too late. Maybe there will be an alteration of that sharing, that zoning formula within the central senatorial district and other senatorial districts. That is one. Then two, again, you now discover that the defection, they already had APC strongholds in those states. What now happens between those strongholds and the newly defected? So there will be an infighting. And I will still tell you for free, if PDP can iron out the current articles ambition and see that the presidency for 2027 under the PDP ticket is zoned to the south, is going to cause another imbalance in APC. So I think we have a long way to see, but you will see, just as the defection is coming, you also see counter-defection as time goes on. It's just a matter of the way the emergency rule in Rivers State is getting some of the politicians in balance. But if the Supreme Court, through a proper legal process, can straighten it out, I believe that stability somehow.
When you say counter-defections, what sort of counter-defections are we looking to see?
Okay, the counter-defection is, okay, from a very reliable source, you could see that in Delta State now, they've been, okay, who will become the leader of the APC? Remember, we have the person of Ovioma Agige, who was a deputy senate president and who has been a pioneer member of the APC, who has been member of the APC, though a product of PDP, who benefited the benevolence of PDP into some of his arrests. And we will look at that. We look at other acquired. They have been APC structure. And let's not also forget that there are states that are synonymous. I'll use the word synonymous or likened to a particular political party. Like Lagos State, for example. Lagos State has been a state of the opposition, irrespective of defection or not. There must be a likelihood of, okay, this particular party seems to clinch Lagos State because of the love of the people, natural love of the people. And South has seen the PDP of more of an inbreed of a party than the APC. Apart from the Edo houses, you could look at it carefully. Apart from the Edo houses, it has been a struggle for other political parties to clinch power in the South-South. I'm talking about the South-South, apart from Edo State. So now let's look at it from the perspective of what if the interest is not properly shared? Remember, Tinubu will not be looking at it from the South alone because he needs alliance from the North. So the interest will be determined by the body language of the North. Take it or leave it, they also have some political stronghold. And you could see that their body language in one way or the other, they can decide to vote for a particular party in the state and ignore other party at the central, just to prove a point. And I'll tell you for free that the APC should be more concerned with the defection than celebrating. Because primaries are coming, interest will be divided, Australia will be made in the course of events.
All right. I'm sure we'll be looking forward to see what will happen, and hopefully, just hopefully, we would see the end result, especially with what is going on in the National Assembly. Thank you so much, Tohwo, for joining us, and thanks for speaking with us this morning here on Breakfast Central.